our Bible quiz, and it's taken from 40 years in the wilderness of the Israelites while they were in transit from Egypt to Canaan land. So we'll go over it. Question 1. Okay, let me change that. Question 1. How did Prophet Moses heal the bitter waters of Marah? A. He poured olive oil in them. 2. He washed himself in them 7 times. C. He cast a tree into them. Or D. He touched them with his rod. A, B, C, or D. All right, let's go to Exodus 15, 22 to 24. Exodus 15 from the Old Testament, 22 to 24.
So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness.
Oh, sorry, please go back to, let's read a few verses because to get a full context of it, let's start from 20, because it helps us to know what went on. So let's start from, it's going to be long, but well, for us, it's all right. We'll read that later on. So 22 to 24.
So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were there. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, We shall we drink? What shall we drink?
All right. So again, the question is that how did Prophet Moses heal the bitter water? Because the water was there, but it had not been, let's just use the word, it had not been blessed. And so it was bitter, and they drank a little bit and realized, oh, this is, not something that we can drink. And so the answer is, as we have C, he cast a tree into them, and God healed the water. Okay, so C is correct, true. Question 2. Before the Israelites arrived at Elim, what statute or promise did God make with the children of Israel after the bitter waters became sweet and drinkable? A. He vowed that none of those who murmured would cross over the Jordan. B. He would not put any of the diseases that he placed on the Egyptians if they diligently obeyed the voice of the Lord. Or C. He would not let them thirst again for water. Or D. He would give the people of Elim into their hands. A, B, C, or D. All right, let's go and find out what the Bible says. Exodus again, same chapter 15, and let's read again, starting from almost the same verse, 25. Let's start from 25. 25 to 26, please. Exodus 15.
It's 15, 25, 26. So he cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree. When he cast it into the waters were made sweet. There he made a statute and an ordinance for them. And there he tested them, and said, If you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his sight, give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on you which I have brought on the Egyptians. For I am the Lord who heals.
Amen. And that last verse, it's something that we should also consider because um, we see things happening to all of us, health issues and all of that. And sometimes we always wonder why. But first, we also look at what the Israelites did in the first place because God had brought them out of Egypt and through miraculous ways in which they were enjoying all the wonderful blessings and they had been traveling all these years and their clothing didn't wear out, their shoes didn't wear out, and they were able to have all the protection and health. But then what began all this problem? What happened? They started to Verse 24 says, And the people murmured, complained against Moses, instead of going to him with humility to ask for God to provide what they needed, they started to murmur, complain, and that is what God says we shouldn't do, especially to the prophet or the man of God. One has to be very, very careful. So, and then God said, well, this is the situation. If you follow, if you obey, if you do my will, and I will also do my part to give you the protection. And so many people have forgotten this particular passage because it's something that has continued. And it's, of course, we also know the devil also tried to sneak in here and there to cause problems. But in the verses that we just quoted, 26, it says, and God said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandment, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. So God is the one who heals. He is the one who provides the healing. And so we have to stress that because sometimes we feel that it has to come from somewhere, but God is one who does the healing and he is always ready to heal us. And so that is that. All right, question 3. In what chapter and verses in the Old Testament can we find the story that we are reading about? Okay, well, it's just, what you will say, a trick question because we find that sometimes, it's sort of to stress upon our heart and mind that this is what God's word says, and for that we know. So, all right, question, that's true. The next question. So, question 4, right? What was the Israelites' second sin against God after they arrived in the wilderness of Sin? Some people have used Zin, but Sin is what it's called. That's where they sin. So, um, question 4. A. They worship Baal. B. They worship the idols of Elim. C. They murmured against Moses. D. They murmured or complained against Moses and Aaron. A, B, C, or D. All right. So, true, truth. If we say C, it's half correct, but the answer is D. They murmured against Moses and Aaron. And so, as we have just read it, and so it is both. All right, so let's find out. Uh, Again, this question 5 is tied to question 4. That's why I'm not saying anything. So, but let's go to question 5. In what chapter and verses in the Old Testament can we find the story of what we have just said? Whether it's C, whether it's D, whether it's sorry. In what chapter and verse do we find the response to question 4? We are in question 5 now, but all right. Okay, it's half correct, half true. All right, so Exodus again is what we are reading, and I know sometimes I provide the answer before I realize I'm not supposed to say the answer, but I usually, I talk sometimes too much, and I should reduce my. I'm trying to explain more, but I find myself giving the answer and then falling back. So Exodus 16, 1 and 2. Let's read that and see what. God says. Exodus 16, 1 and 2, please.
And they took the journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after the departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness.
All right, so we see what they did, and that's of course, well, I will say less. So the answer to 4 is D, and so that is the correct answer. And so we've seen the answer in D. I'm trying to. It's a little way to help to juggle our mind. So that's why question 5 is there. But it's a way to help us to also go in and see what the Bible will say. All right, question 6. All right, so